Buenos dias.
Hi, Vico. How are you?
Oh, so good. Yourself?
I'm doing great. Uh, to start, Jim has joined. I had the same feeling about Loki season 1 and 2, but Jim has joined my I want everyone to just kiss squad. This is
Uh,
more of like a quad though than a throuple because I want just like all four of them to just become a little family and kiss each other. But
Listen, you and me both. You and me both. And apparently, well, not apparently. I think I can confidently say that all of us in the cast are super down to, if we're given a third season, to kind of just like see where life takes us, you know? Let's just like unpack and deconstruct all the structures of like relational, traditional. Let's just like be non-traditional. Let's just like see what happens.
he
I
was
think
just
there's a
like,
lot of love in there.
it's like, oh, well, we're friends. We'll talk about this. I was like, no, no, smooch, all smooch, all four together, smooch.
Yeah, it'd be cute.
But for me, like exploring, obviously, Jim and Olu in season 1 have a different dynamic, but in this season, we get to kind of see that change and evolve and include different characters within that dynamic and friendship. And how was it to kind of grow both as an actor and a performer to embrace different aspects of Jim and these characters and get to, work with different actors and have fun in season 2 because it was really fun to kind of see, crazed Jim with
I
Black
know.
through the first half of this season and see how all of that grew.
It's so much fun because there are sprinkles of crazed Jim in the first season, but they're like the teeniest tiny bits. And honestly, I feel like the crazier bits were like cut into like 0.5 seconds. There's like
Mhm.
one bit where Jim is hacking up a dummy in the first season. I shot that scene. It was like a solid. They had me going from one angle to the other. I was doing both voices. So there's always been an element of Jim kind of being like doing voices and things. There's been elements of that, and I think in the second season, they expanded more on that. But to get to the more emotional, like arch of that, right?
Mhm.
First season, Jim is very much closed off. Jim is very much, and I know that I joke a lot about being Jim is assigned knives at birth. That's their gender identity, and it's but that's true. That's all
Mhm.
they knew. They knew revenge, their own individual revenge. They were almost disengaged emotionally to everybody. They were on their own journey. And for the beginning of the first season, Olu was more of this person who was kind of just following them around. They were like, what? And then like, oh, I'm opening, you're you're chill, and then everybody's chill, and everybody's like opening up to them, and they're like, I guess this is sort of safe, and I guess revenge doesn't need to be my identity, right? And all of a sudden, first season ends, and you start second season with an incredible like pull back into that Jim's survival mode again. Like it's like you see them be like slowly open up and then be like just shoved back to that survival mode of that like I need to kill in order to survive, but then they're pushing against that because now they have this awareness of how tenderness can be, how care can be.
Mhm.
They've seen it in Olu, they've seen it in Steed. And so you see them in the first couple of episodes of the first season fighting against that instinctual survival mode of killing. They're actually breaking a pattern of violence within themselves. Even after Archie punches them in the face, they could have easily killed Archie and could have easily like fallen again in that pattern, but it's like no, they've seen tenderness, they've seen that life isn't just about survival, it can be about celebration. And so now after those few episodes and after the trauma of the whole ship gets addressed, they finally get to explore who they are outside of their individual revenge identity. They get to explore who they are outside of being assigned knives at birth. They get to be like, maybe I want to be spoons. Maybe I want to be a butter knife, a little softer around the edges, And they interact with more people, right? So now they're starting to, I don't know if maybe it's my own experience, right? But oftentimes when I am new to something or I am walking into something that's new within myself, I observe what other people are doing, and I either kind of pick up a little bit on that and see if it fits me or if it aligns with me. And there's a little bit of that happening with Jim, where they start to kind of be like, oh, I like some of the softness that Olu is showing me. Oh, I like some of this playfulness that Archie is showing me. And they start kind of being like, oh, I'm allowed to take up space. I'm allowed to be loud. I'm allowed to be messy. I'm allowed to be big and bold, and it doesn't need to involve a knife in my head and or a knife at someone's throat, right? So it's really cool to see how Jim kind of evolves in that way. And when it comes to like relationship stuff, you very much, nail it, right? Where Jim and Olu's dynamic does shift. But for me, from my perspective, as someone who is in constant deconstruction of colonial structures, I see that change, that shift in Jim and Olu's dynamic opens up to an expansion, and that there is this like deep emotional connection that Jim and Olu share that's gonna withstand lifetimes, Like no matter what happens, like Jim and Olu will always be anchors for each other. And at the same time, we're like, there's other people that we're interested in. What's going on here? And it's like we want to champion that for each other. And I think that's really beautiful. And I think I was mentioning that earlier. I think it's safe to say that Samson, Mads, me, and Rebo would love, if there's a third season, to explore a non-traditional way of relating to each other, because romance can look very different. It can be expressed very differently. Relationships can be valid, whether they have tons of making out or no tons of making out. It doesn't make it better than the other. It just makes it different. And I think it really be really cool to explore an untraditional route if we were given a third season. But there were some sprinkles of that already, in the second. And it's like little beans like, wait, what's going on here? What do you mean you've been sharing what now? How long? What's the share? The bedroom sharing? What's happening there? So, there's some elements thrown in there.
Well, I love it because when I did the first, like for the first season press, I think we were given like the first 4 episodes. So I remember talking to Reese being like, yeah, Steed's like, you make him charming, but it's a guy who gave up his whole family, because we hadn't even gotten to Taika yet. So I had no idea what this show ended up being. So it's very funny watching this show now in the way I feel about these characters and how much I love Our Flag Means Death, and to like see kind of my different approach. Because it's like I loved the show in those first 4 episodes because I love kind of this comedy and like these characters and the actors who were already in it. But it's like now it's like I have a completely different approach to Our Flag Means Death. Because I think in that first season or the first press round, I was talking to you and Samson, and I was like, you guys are the couple I'm rooting for, because I had no idea what I was getting into, because that was where it was setting up. Those first 4 episodes was setting up Jim and Olu. Mm-hmm. Didn't know about Steed and Blackbeard, didn't know about how I would love Izzy Hands, knew nothing about anything. And now it's like, and which I think it was a lot of fans kind of journey with this show. And I know you're a very big component, especially within the fandom, of like connecting with fans and how they feel about this show, which is so beautiful to see. At New York Comic Con, that was so beautiful because I'm normally in New York, obviously not there right now, but it was so beautiful to see kind of like you interacting with everyone and the cast like embracing that fandom. How has it been for you to kind of see that reaction throughout that first season and this season, and see just people taking on Jim, taking you into their arms, and just being that kind of champion for you and the show, and like being that supportive?
Thank you for asking that question. It truly, like, there was a part of me that knew this was important. But it's not until I'm interacting with every single person in all the conventions that I'm like, oh my God, this really is, it has expanded. I know the word fandom gets used a lot, but I oftentimes feel like that there's been a community that is being built by people who are, whether seeing the example of how to have or show found family, right? And then people have found family within this fandom, this community, and people who are championing each other and supporting each other and whatever their journey might look like. And I think that's what's so beautiful about Our Flag and how it's reflected on the people that watch the show and love the show, is that everybody in this TV series, like all these characters, like somehow like are just like hells yeah, we love you for who you are. And then that's how it should be in life, you know? And then you see that reflected, and you see people seeing that and then seeing themselves in that, and then finding other people who are connecting with that. And I feel so deeply honored and so in awe to be a witness of this and to be witnessed by. Um, and I love hearing everybody who comes over to me and tells me how our flag has been such a beautiful impact to them, whether it's their own journey or has supported families' journeys to get to know them better, or coworkers' journeys, or friends' journeys. Um, it truly it truly is so magical and beautiful, the power that people have found within themselves, because it's always been there. It was just like seeing it and being like, oh, that can I've always had this magic, I've always had this power, and now everybody's sharing it, and I think that's like so beautiful. So I I truly feel so held, and I do my very best to hold with the same love and care and tenderness that everyone deserves, because we all deserve it. Especially I mean, yeah, everyone deserves it. Everyone deserves love and tenderness. So I feel really, yeah, I feel really honored to be part of this, and be part of the fandom, part of the community, part of the show. I sometimes am just like, wait, what? I did this? What? So I'm still pinching myself at times.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Like, thank you for talking with me today. I really appreciate it because I love, like, truly, I say this in all of these interviews for the show because it's one of my favorite shows. I told David I was going to get a tattoo at the end of this show because I want a third season, but I'm waiting till I get a third season to get a tattoo with a letter that just says, "You wrote me a lovely letter" on
Yes,
it because
yeah.
it broke me. And he was like, maybe don't. And I was like, no, I'm going to do it because of this
I
show.
love that. I will say, if we get a third one, I think I'm more than likely will get a tattoo that honors the show somewhere in my body. I don't know what yet, but I'm like, yeah, this sounds about right.
Oh, flag means that too. But thank you so much. I love this show so, so, so much. And this season was so good. And I want so many more just so I can continue to love our flag means death.
Me too. Me too. Me too. Crossing fingers. I think last time we found out 9 weeks after the first season dropped. So we're on what, week 4? So we'll see.
And at New York Comic Con, they were already starting. I told Rebo yesterday they were handing out cards at New York Comic Con. They were just like, here. And I was like, it's still airing. They
The Renew as a
were handing me
Crew
cards.
is truly like the campaign. I'm like, again, I am in awe. This community, this fandom is truly just like impeccable, magnificent.
I love them. But thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Have a good one.